Danny Cowart, who is the president of the school board for Simpson County. We are excited in McGee because we have a new superintendent, and it's Dr. Lawrence. I've known him for several years now. He has been the elementary principal here in McGee and has brought that school up and was one of our first schools, I think, to get the beat in our area completely. So we're excited and look forward to what he's going to do in the schools. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about what your plans are.
Well, my big goal, my number one goal, is to have everything across the board, elementary, middle, and high school, top of the line, where you would enter, where you would put your child in at kindergarten, and you would have no trepidation, no worries at all that your child is going to be a graduate of the Simpson County School District. So from the elementary, the middle, the high school, you want to, you know that you put your child in the right place.
How do you achieve that?
Well, you've got to put, number one, you've got to put a quality teacher in every single classroom.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a safe environment, number one. If you don't have a safe environment, a safe culture, a good culture that's focused on education, then you got issues. And the thing is, that's what my goal is that same type of culture that if you walk into McGee Elementary School any single day of the week, that you would have that same culture at every single one of the schools. So so everything that at McGee Elementary School is based off of the 3 R's: being respectful, being responsible, and being ready. And that's really what the core is. You want children that are respectful to each other, respectful to their teachers, respectful to the classmates, respectful all around. You want them to be responsible, not passing the buck or doing any of that other type of stuff, saying, okay, this is what my responsibility is, I've got to get my responsibility done. And then that they're ready to learn, or they're ready to do anything that they wanted to do, all the way across the board. Those are just good common core values that whenever you get into, when the child graduates from one of our schools, that they are, whether they come back to Simpson County or they go out anywhere out in the world, they know how to just take care of themselves, be a success. That's what we want all the way around the entire school district. That's what we want, and that's what my goal is. That whenever you enter one of the Simpson County schools, that I put my child in the right place and they're going to graduate from the right place. But not only that, they're going to have a great shot at being successful later on in life.
I think that's awesome. If you have never visited McGee Elementary School, you've missed a treat. I'm telling you, it's the same every time I go, and I mean excellent. Not same because it's not good, it is an excellent school. We're excited, and I am anxious to see how you can implement that, because I think that's great. Okay, Mr. Danny, what's going on in the world of the school board?
We came today to give an explanation of roles of school board members a little bit, and then specifically to maybe the McGee principal situation, how that came to it. Also to present to Dr. Lawrence right now. I'm so impressed with Dr. Lawrence, not just in the interview process. We had 5 interviews. We came here about when Dr. Holloway had left us, and we said that the school board was sending us some applicants and finalists and other places. He was one of those finalists. He also did very well in that interview because he's sitting here. But I've been impressed with the meetings we've had in some of these situations. We met, actually, your first day on the job. I explained that contract to you, what's expected of the board and the board meetings and that type of stuff. But I want to give you now 2 books that I've given to every school board member and superintendent and the school board attorney. And one of them is Good to Great. And the other one is Improving School Board Effectiveness, How We Relate. Now that first one, Good to Great, is a bestseller on stats.
I know this one, and my son is a big reader.
But inside that cover, Dr. Lawrence, you're going to see I wrote to you personally from me, but it also has Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Because I firmly believe that life is a crooked road. We didn't know we was going through COVID. No. We had no idea where we were going, but we're on a good journey. When we become school board members, and I think Patrice would attest to this, we really don't know what we're getting into when we get there.
That's probably why you wouldn't go if you knew what
Well,
you're getting into.
and it's a 6-year commitment.
No, I know, and that's a long time. 6 years is a long time.
But I want to give a lot of credit to the Mississippi School Board Association and how they've transformed school boards across the state and trained them. You go through basic training, but the thing that has really helped us is whole board training.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Lawrence, we're scheduling whole board trainings with you because the team has changed. When Mr. Walker came on the board, or Reverend Walker, we brought in whole board training. And it talked about this little thing. It's roles of the superintendent and roles of the school board. This is a short little booklet dealing with complex laws and roles of the different agencies. The Mississippi legislature in its wisdom and the governor implemented appointed superintendents across the state of Mississippi. No public schools has an elected superintendent anymore. It's all appointed.
I did not realize that.
And that happened the first year that we came on the board. We had an elected superintendent in Greg Pace.
Mm-hmm.
We made him our first appointed superintendent. And then we made the second superintendent appointment with Dr. Holloway. And now, Dr. Lawrence, you are our third appointed superintendent. But this is so important. What are our roles? Because you talked about your goals, your things. The school board actually sets the goals, and you set them without knowing them.
Mm-hmm.
Student achievement, safe and orderly schools, a good school experience, and then financial responsibility. So, but you have roles in this. And then the second thing they teach us from the Mississippi laws is ethical governance. Now, it has to do with open meeting laws and how we comport ourselves and that type of stuff. And it's very basic training, but it takes complex issues and boils it down to you know what you're supposed to be doing. I got a call from a concerned citizen, Dr. Lawrence. We met our last school board meeting of the year. We had to pay the bills before the fiscal year ended, which ends July 30th. So everything that was out there had to be paid out of last year's budget. We met on the 29th with the the bills that needed to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
We also had some human resource items that were recent hires from vacancies we had to do, and a few other items on the agenda. So that was the night of the 29th, Thursday. On the 30th, I got a call from a concerned citizen about the principal situation at McGee. And remembering this, I took the call and I listened to them and I said, well, we have just met on the 29th and there was nothing about the principal position in that human resources agenda. So I have no idea really what you're speaking of. So I get off the phone, and what's the next call that I really have to make?
To the head man?
Yeah, I can't make it to that principal.
No,
I can't make it to community members to get input. That's not the role.
Right.
So I called the superintendent. We have a conversation. I said, well, sir, tomorrow you will not be the superintendent. So I need you today to have a conversation with the principal and get back with me at the end of the day about that conversation, if possible. Now, I can't direct him to do that because that's day-to-day operations. Mm-hmm. If you want to get in real hot water with the Ethics Commission, start doing the superintendent's role. Mm-hmm. So I did. And I also asked him, said, I need to talk with that one employee, the principal, because you won't be you won't be the superintendent tomorrow. So today, and I talked with both of them on the phone and asked both of them to return a call to me separately. And what I wanted to do was listen. Did I hear the same thing from both entities? I did. And the principal said, it was his choice to move to another position at Simpson Central. Well, I had to make a third call because the next day, this belonged to Dr. Lawrence. Mm-hmm. He is our one employee we often, I've got so many calls that have said, you need to get down to the school. You need to get this fixed, Mr. Cowart. I know you can do this. Would you come and walk through it? And I said, then I would begin to explain to them, that is the day-to-day operational job of the superintendent. Please refer that back to the superintendent. And I would call the superintendent then and say, would you get back with me on this particular issue, how it was remedied or whatever it was. So Dr. Lawrence comes to my office on Monday and we begin to talk. Tuesday was a holiday, it was the 4th, I believe. And Dr. Lawrence, at that point, we went through a lot of different items that we were going through, school board, superintendent's report, contracts, all of this. And then I said, on this one particular thing, I'm going to take hands off and let you use your judgment, and would you have a conversation? Why don't you take it from there and tell us what happened?
Right. So yesterday morning, which was the 5th, I called up Bill Broadhead and I said, hey, I said, asked him if he was out at Simpson Central. So I went out to Simpson Central. The two of us met for probably hour and a half. Went out to his office and talked. Same thing. Number one, I wanted to listen. I wanted him to tell me the entire story of all of the things that had transpired over the last, and stuff. And he talked. I asked a couple of questions here and there. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about faith. We talked about work. We talked about things. And the main thing after we got through all of the stuff, I said, Bill, are you in a good place? Are you in a place you want to be? Are you in a good place? Yes, sir. I didn't ask him just once. I asked him twice. I 100% believe in Bill Broadhead. I absolutely 100% Bill. And I want Bill to be in a place that Bill is comfortable. I told him many times. I said, in text and stuff, I said, Bill, I don't want you miserable. I don't want you anything such. I want you in a good place. I want you in a place that you're at peace in your heart. I said, are you there? He said, yes, sir, I am. I asked him not once, but twice. The last thing I asked him before he got up, shook his hand, and walked out the door. He's a good man. He's a very good man. I got nothing but respect for Bill Broadhead, and I want him in the right place. I want him in the place that, number one, the Lord wants him in. Number two, that he wants to go along with it. And so the thing is, I felt after I got through there, I had a sense of peace with it, and Bill seemed to have a sense of peace with it, and so I want to 100% support Bill Broadhead in the role that the role he's in the Simpson County School District, and I want to see him successful, just like I want to see every single one of the other principals and assistant principals. I want to see them successful, and just like I would anyone, and that goes for every single employee that goes along with the district. But I went in there with the sole purpose of, number one, listening, and then the two of us talking it out. But that was the last question I asked him. Are you at peace with this? He said yes.
So basically, you're saying he was okay with the move?
Yes, ma'am.
I think a lot of us are not okay with the
Look, I understand, and that's because he's a good man. Mm-hmm. He is 100% a good man, and you want a good man. You want somebody that's a good man in any role that's dealing with your children and dealing with your community. And so the thing is, you would rather have a lot of people want you than nobody wants you.
That's right.
But when I went out there to talk to him, that's the thing. I wanted him to be at peace. I wanted him to be, you can't make everybody happy all of the time. But the thing is, you don't want anybody miserable, because that's not good for them. That's not good for the school. That's not good. And he assured me that he was at peace with this decision.
I appreciate you doing that too.
And that's the respect I have for him, and I have that same respect for all of my employees, and that's the way I do business. If there's something there, I want to go look you eye to eye and say, okay, how can we resolve this? That's how I've treated my parents. That's how I've treated my employees. You don't always get that 100% satisfaction rate, but the thing is, it's not going to be because of a lack of effort from my part, because we're going to try to Because our number one goal is to serve these kids and to provide the absolute best environment for these kids. And you can't do that if somebody's disgruntled, and you can't do that. And so you want to make sure that they're at peace with this decision and that they can serve that role.
Let me come back to something, because this was an odd situation because we were on the last day of the superintendent. Who's going to bring the recommendation? The board can only react to a recommendation. We cannot get involved out there telling him what to do. But in my conversation with Mr. Broadhead, I said, do understand you have a choice? There's no recommendation brought to this board. Now, what I'm saying is as of right now, you're still the principal at McGee High School. Now, there may have been some other things involved that were over my head. I have no idea. But as of right now, the board had nothing to react to on the 30th. So you're still the principal. You have a choice in this, because I don't know how we can react to a recommendation until this superintendent comes in and does that. Now, it could have been some legal issues that I was not aware of, but the board's understanding of it at that time. And I asked Bill, do you understand you have a choice? He said, yes, sir, and I'm happy with this choice. Now, what Dr. Lawrence did was the same thing, and he had a choice. What I'm making very clear is it was his choice, not us forcing anything on that. And, that's, let me go into what they call Dannyism a little bit.
Okay.
I get every bit of my political view on how things should be run in governance from the Andy Griffin Show. Now, if you want to Google this, you'll see what I think needs to be happening. And I want to continue these conversations, like next week, week after next. I want to talk about the financing of the new school. I want Dr. Lawrence to come and talk about the effectiveness or the efficiency, and the most efficient and effective way to reach those student goals is what we're after. With Aunt B was running for the position that Howard Sprague had on the Andy Griffin Show, and she got up and there was a bridge to be built, and one of the audience said, we want this bridge, and she said, I want what the people want. And here's Sprague in a bad situation, because everybody loves Aunt B. But more than that, Sprague loved Aunt B. So he got up trying to apologize to her, and then he said, where the bridge was originally planned, the Corps of Engineers said it would be taken out by a flood and it was going to cost double to make it so it would sustain. But if you move 2 miles down this road here, it's going to cost half as much. The flood waters were not affected. And that's where we believe, from the data, that the bridge should go. At the end of this thing, it was about the issue. It was about the what, not the who. And when it got down to that, it turned out a pretty good thing. I think Miss B withdrew, and Howard went on about his deal with the expertise to do that. We don't pretend to have the expertise to run the school. We hire someone with expertise to run the school, and we listen to them. And I would like to come back several times with Dr. Lawrence, curriculum people, and just not trying to get something, but trying to tell something.
Well, I think that's hugely important. I think the fact that most of the time everybody's kept in the dark. They just hear it. They don't have the facts, and I think that's a great move to make.
Well, the Aunt B Howard Sprague thing is a great example of how to bring people, to coalesce people around facts of an issue. And now, you talk about complex issue. When we go into financing other than a bond issue, it gets complex. We didn't lean on ourselves. We hired a bond attorney, we hired some experts in finances, and we tried to look at this thing because the problem, the issues, the challenges were global. And there seemed no answer, but there is an answer. And we think we've come upon how to get that done. But that's for another meeting.
Really, I think so many people don't listen to what surrounds the issue, because we knew that he had been given a letter, you're gone, and then it didn't really play out like that. So it wasn't the entire truth here, but it came to the end, that it worked itself out. And I think that's so important that we as regular citizens listen to the whole story. So often we don't.
And transparency is a hard thing. We have meetings and stuff, and they're not well attended.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the last time we came on here with Reverend Walker, you had 1,500, 2,000 hits on this, which is good. And then if they have questions, they can send them in.
Mm-hmm.
But we are bound. The board is bound, like going visiting schools or
Mm-hmm.
talking to your people and working out things. That is going to get you with the Ethics Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stay on our rolls and be supportive of him. But on the other side of that coin, we have a board calendar. He's got to bring to us, whoever sits in that superintendency, the number of referrals for discipline, the acute discipline. If he says I got safe schools, orderly schools, we'll show it. One of the things I love about Dr. Lawrence, his interview, was that he stressed positive behavior support. We had so many folks saying, we just don't have discipline in schools. Well, that narrative didn't fit up what I saw at his school. The board instituted going to eat lunch in the schools. So we go, now lunchtime is non-instructional time.
And it needs to be.
But that's where you're going to see a lot.
The real
But
fun.
we're sitting in there, and I asked Dr. Lawrence, I said, what do you do, beat these kids? They were so orderly, so about their business. Now, I know as you go through the grades, there's different things, but positive behavior support is corrective, it's proactive, it's not punitive. And isn't that what you want for your children?
It teaches them the way that they should behave and the way that they should act, and puts those expectations.
But that is back to the effectiveness, and I want to, and I appreciate you having us. I would like to visit in a series, take small bits and say, okay, this is what we think the narrative is out there. Here's what we believe it really is, and here's the data to show it. And we like that approach.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming, and I look forward to working with you again in a different position, but I've always enjoyed working anytime with the elementary, so I know it'll be the same thing. If you have questions that you would like addressed, you can send them to me. You can send it through McGeeNews.com, or you can send it on McGee News Facebook page.